Mic's on? Yes, indeed. All right. We're gonna flip over. Got some stuff here. Where is it? There it is. Oh, we got a screen capture. Hold on. Why are we capturing the screen? Take that off. What else do we have up? 51. We don't need the other. Perfect. Let me transform this. Good evening. Good afternoon. Good morning. Whatever time it is, wherever you are. I don't know. Okay. Reset. Take 180. It's been a while. I don't know, maybe I guess that is the whole scene. Okay, I'm just crazy. Alright, let's take a look here. Hopefully, not anything that we need to order parts for. What's that? An energy label. Hopefully it can be sorted out in shop. That's, with any luck, we'll be able to do that. We have... Well, let's grab the slip quick and find out. Ho, 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 you didn't sign the slip. We can't work on it. Actually, we can. So, problem symptoms, not working. So, we're going to sort it out. Along with the laptop came the power supply, which is good because it is one of the goofy Lenovo ones, obviously. And where's the other? We have a bag. We don't need to show that. And then, along with the power supply, I'm guessing, actually, get a little bit more in view that way. Okay, so we have, it looks like a new power supply. Yeah. A new power supply, possibly. Although the size of the bricks tells me that they're probably going to be two different wattages. Okay, we have a 65 watt, which is the little one. And let's see what this one is, if we can find it. Alright, let's go with the other. It doesn't say its actual wattage that I'm seeing. We have 20 volts, 4.5 amps, and then 20 volt, 3.25 amps. So, around the same power, but the newer one has nothing. Let's hit our button and see what happens. So we have critical low battery error. What is this? Let's look at this model computer to see what... Am I familiar with these or not? I've dealt with a few Lenovo's, more older than new. Okay, so this is a ThinkPad T440S. I've dealt with a few older ones, more so than newer ones like this, but I have dealt with a few new ones, I think. Actually, I have one in shop here. This is the most recent one that I've dealt with, which is a 3rd gen Core i Intel processor. I believe this is 4th or 5th gen in this model. Alright, so critical low battery error, which tells me we got issues with power. So let's plug it in. Did the battery die? We will take and we may have some work ahead of us, we may not. Where's the charge light? Let's look for a charge light. So, not apparent if there is a charge light. I know, I think some Lenovo's, if I'm not mistaken, have a charge light. No, they don't. Okay, so here's another. Wow, that's weak. So this one's 20. Trying to get the reading on this. This is a bad one, but I'm kind of curious as to what the reading is on it. Or the rating. So 20 volt, 4.5 amp. Slightly, same size. Bad. This one is a shorter one. It's a 90 watt. And it goes to show that they do make them different powers. 65 watt, 90 watt, but that one's definitely bad. No charge like I thought. And there should be some type of charge indicator, possibly. Okay. So we have power. So was it just a dead battery? Let's let this thing start up. We need to put some Post-its on the screen to find out. Okay, so let's see what we have going on here. So it says our battery's charging. And then it's charging and then it's not. So quite possibly we have 0%, 0% in use. Battery 1, battery 2. Okay, so this is like I thought. It has shut down. It has an internal battery and an external battery. Other than the little like CR32 battery for the real-time clock. This is going to have battery's very low. Prompt is yelling at me. Alright, so I'm trying to shut it down. I'm going to leave it where I know I can hit enter. We'll keep photos covered and names. So we're going to hit enter, shut this thing down, and we need to do some checking. Alright, laptop is powered off. So we have two dead batteries. We have the external and an internal battery that both said 0% in use. So I'm guessing this thing barely had enough power to turn on, if any. Pull the one battery. While we're getting into pulling batteries, we may take a look inside this thing. Let's see if we can get a readout for power. So it seems like the factory power supply is broken. something going on with it. It shouldn't be jumping all over the place like it is. So we got 0, 20. I'm guessing there's just some minor breaks in the wires in there. Let's check our new power supply while we got the meter out. So we have a new one. This is a common thing. I'm not saying it happens every time guaranteed that you can't buy a new power supply, but I've seen this more than once. Let's check to see that the alleged new one is outputting power too. So it's plugged in, plugged into the outlet, plugged into the power brick. There is no LED or light indicating power going into it. It's nice when you have that on a power supply. And let's check for voltage. Not a good sign. And we will try and hit our center pin as well. Yeah, no power there, no power on the sides. So this new power supply, something is going on with it. Let's take a look at our batteries while we have those out as well. So this is what, a 3-cell, 11.1 volt lithium ion. So yeah, it's a 3-cell. What would be equivalent to like a 3S or 3-cell lithium polymer LiPo battery. So down around 9, 10 volts, something like that, and we're going to be low. Yeah, it definitely needs a charge in it. We got one. Alright, let's get inside this thing and take a look while we're here. We have a few screws. We're going to need something long first. If you're tearing the bottom off these, you're going to want to pull your SIM card out, or the tray for it, not the SIM card. So you'll pull that. And let's loosen up our 8 or 9 screws here, whatever they. Oh. You're not supposed to come out. You should retain yourself, or be retained by a C-clip in the bottom of the case. Grab an opening tool. We want to start going around the edge of this thing and getting it to crack loose if possible. Okay, let's work our way across the front. We're still attached with this screw. there's the rest. Okay, little dusty, not bad. Not so bad. And which one was this screw? Was the one that was loose. Let's make sure the little retaining clip is there. It is. It's just a piece of plastic. It has a split in it, so it will thread itself out. Not much we can do about that. Where's our battery? So here's where the external battery would go. Here's our internal on this model. Let's pull a few screws out and see what we can make. Okay. Let's check some voltage on this cell here. It should be around the same if it's dead. Fortunately, we can see the color of the wires. No, it's dead. So the other battery may not have been being detected. Low voltage. This one is it actually dead? Or just not getting any type of charge? So this one seems to be dead. Look at our multimeter in there. Yeah, we're getting nothing from this. This battery may have malfunctioned. However, we don't know yet. We'll see if we can't get power into both of these. As for right now. RAM? Oh, they did it like that. Okay, so this thing has some internal RAM. Or soldered on RAM somewhere with an expansion slot on it. Drive. And let's see if it wants to start up with our, well, that's the old one. Let's go with the new power supply, no batteries. This should not be an issue starting up with the new power supply, the one that's not broken on the end. Okay, so the new supply is completely dead, like our multimeter showed. Just completely donezo. Let's flip it over to check both sides for good measure. Although it doesn't matter with these, it's not like a USB-C or lightning cable. So new power supply is out the door. We need to get something functional. We will grab our shop universal. Get it plugged in. And we need to change the end. We have a small blue HP. Tip, we need the Lenovo. We'll throw this back on. Grab our rectangle. Let's see. So when we plug in, so 4 gigs of RAM soldered on board. I don't know if we have a stick of anything here in the throwaway pile or giveaway. Put that back on. But 4 gigs isn't really enough, especially with a mechanical spinning drive. This thing could have so much better of a life. Okay, and while we're here, if you ever open a laptop, if you have to open it for any reason, one of your duties should be to check the thermal paste and make sure that it's good. I would say unless it's a brand new system, in which case you probably would not need to check it unless you have reason to lift the heat spreader. This one seems to be fairly good. I'm not liking that at all. Let's grab tweezers to pull that out. That is a fairly stiff plug. There, all out. Check our thermal paste, see what the damage is with it, how dry it is. I'm gonna say it really could have went a little while longer, but since we lifted it, we're gonna replace it. If ever, for whatever reason, if you're in a laptop and you suspect or it's dusty or really dusty, clogged up, and you think it may have ran hot, been running hot, any of the above, yeah, you should do the right thing and change out the thermal paste, renew it. You know, swap that old dried out, crusty stuff for something that's actually going to do its job versus something that's not. And as I said, this probably could have made it a little while longer. However, it over half its life seemed to be going. It was pretty flaky when you went out. It was more dried and flaking, dried up, would clump up than it would smear like grease. So wow, so they're only cooling, look at that. As far as that mounting, when that mounts, they only had a blob here on that die and nothing on that one. Does that not need cooling? It has a heat pad, or like a landing pad for. We're going to actually take and clean all this off. Now, the stuff on the CPU was actually a little greasy, not bad. Let's get the brush out. This has nothing to do with the power. It's just while we're in here, since we open it up to check the voltages of this internal battery. And that's another thing we can check while we're here, just to be sure that we're not having another type of issue that could be confusing us. Now there's some quality you don't get all the time. This actually still has, what is that? Is that a sensor wire? Get out of here. It is. It's a sensor wire. Okay, look how cool this is on this fan. This is not something you see on every lap. Maybe this is the cheap way to do it, and that's why you don't see it. Or quite possibly the expensive way, which is another reason you don't see it that much. You have your wires, you have your 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 coming off for this laptop fan. What is it, a 5 volt or 12? 5. Okay, so you have your 5 wires coming off it. Then you have an additional wire running along the side of the fan, right up to the edge of the fin stack where your heat pipe comes in. So I'm guessing that's a sensor running up. So if you were to tear this fan apart to check how clogged this could potentially be inside, we're going to airline this quick to clean the dust off. Hold the fan and airline it. But if you were to take and undo the screws that are holding the fan on there, you would need to be careful that you don't want to rip your sensor wire. We're not going to go that far. We're just going to airline it quick. We'll be right back. Okay, so a good amount of dust did come out of this thing. However, we're just going to take and knock some more loose with our little brush here. This is one of the weird fan designs. Okay, cleaned. Let's get this back in place, fan plugged in, and then we can check our DC jack. I want to see where, you know, fairly certain that with the factory power supply jumping all over the place, that it's not charging the battery, although it was keeping it what seemed to be powered on. Okay, so a bit much for our CPU die. However, we're going to transfer some of this over to this side. It didn't have thermal compound on it when we opened it. We're going to trust that it's not going to kill it, which it shouldn't. Why they have a spot for it to be cooled, if it was something, when you're talking a discrete graphics card, discrete GPU, that's going to be a separate chip somewhere with, you know, a whole nother heatsink and fan. So why do they have a spot for it to be cooled with no cooling? A bad decision, in my opinion, Lenovo. Or IBM, Lenovo, whoever the hell made this thing. Okay, torque down to finger tight. Let's grab our factory, what came with the laptop, and see if we can. Yeah, it's even got a break in the cable right here. So, you seeing that? I mean, that's just a break to the outside, but if it's broken there, and then you have this piece that went up on here also broken, that tells me some flexing happened, and that's why our voltage is jumping all over the place. Hopefully, this didn't short anything and it just ran the internal battery very, very dead. That's why we didn't get a reading on it. Actually, because of this, I don't even want to plug it in anymore in case the wires are touching in there. We're going to get it out of the picture. We use the one that we know powers it. We can put some power to this system. And let's ensure that voltage is getting through, so we'll follow wherever it plugs in. Here? No. The antenna. Right here. Alright, so let's see if any type of voltage is getting through. We're just going to touch ground over here on our jack. Anywhere. Let's touch the middle. This should be grounded. We know these are. Alright, so 19.2. then our 2 grounds, 2 power wires, and whatever this white wire is, signal, data, charge, who knows. Alright, so power is getting through from our DC jack to our board. I doubt very much, but we can at least try and check it. Reason being we can't check this way is we don't have the smart circuitry that the battery has on it. And if we plug it in, then the battery is going to be in our way. Let's try the internal. Let's recheck that with a good ground. Yeah, nothing. Let's check the pin out. How many do we have there? 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5 wires on our internal battery. We'll see if any voltage is getting over here. Man, those pins are something else there. Okay, so we have 2 massive nothing. Again, because there's no smart circuitry. Like comes on these packs. There will be a circuit somewhere in there telling it what to do, I'm guessing. I don't know. Do these work like the what are they? Laptop batteries that have these in have their own circuit board in them. Like the 18650 batteries. So let's check what we can. We're going to unplug. All right, is any juice flowing? We're going to screw the battery in and then lift the whole laptop up so we can be sure that we're only touching 1 pin at a time there. That and this battery is like double dead. There was no voltage coming off of it whatsoever. So it could be that this battery is bad. What a shot with that screw, man. Damn. Did it go across the keyboard? Or to the magical floor? We're not wasting time looking for that on the floor. At least not on a tile floor. We can replace it easily with any of these. Perfect. Battery's in. Let's see if we're getting any type of voltage to our battery. I don't expect us to see it charging or anything like that, but of course it's not going to. We're not plugged in. Let's go. Okay, so we are getting voltage at this location. Let's where the red wire is. Let's unplug this battery, replug in our AC adapter, and then test that same location again. This is going to be tough with the battery attached. There we go. All right, plugging it back in. Let's check again for voltage. Yeah, literally nothing. So we're touching where the red wire would go, and we got 0.1, which is nothing coming through there. And let's do the magical thing of plugging the battery back in and seeing that voltage there indicating we're getting a charge. Very nice. We have numbers jumping around on the multimeter whenever we plug it in. Move this out of the way. You can see there, just barely touching. We pull it and it cuts. So perfect. We're getting voltage to the internal battery, which tells me the charging circuit is fine up to that point. Now, we could only check this one. Perhaps we can. What is under all that? Let's take a look and see what's under the magic stickers. Alright, we can gain access to the back side of the pins for the battery. So let's plug in now and see if we get anything. Go to a ground and go to pins and check our multimeter. So 3.3, that should be our standby voltage. So there, and possibly there. So these two will be our charging on voltage, one of the two. slide this battery into place as best we can. It will be keyed, so it's fitting. Okay. Now, this is going to be the bad part. Going to the back side of these pins, we're going to test this one first. I need to get a look at this thing. Okay, so they're fairly big pins. Alright, and there's our 11.5 volts and 11.5. I'm going to unplug the battery. And we get nothing from these first two pins. And with the battery in, the other battery unplugged. I don't know if it was necessary to unplug the other battery, but I do know I want a reading from this battery, not any other power in the system. So AC adapter to the DC jack, to the board, to the battery, or we're getting current. Without the battery in, we don't. Once the battery with its smart circuitry is plugged in, we can detect voltage on these two pins. So the two pins on this end here, getting voltage with the battery plugged in. So battery working, charging system apparently working. Replacement DC jack that was ordered, garbage, not putting out any voltage whatsoever. So we'll have to let this customer know that. And then we have the broken factory one that I think the cables are just broken inside. Okay, let's get this thing put back together. We'll get this stupid multimeter out of the way. Let's put a magnet back in place. We need to find our stupid black piece of tape. The nuisance that they are. There it is. I'll say with only 4 gigs of system RAM, I don't think I have... I'm trying to remember. It's hard to keep laptops straight, especially from the past and stuff you haven't looked at recently. Fairly certain this won't boot on the 10600 or PC3 8500S, or I think we need the PC3 low voltage 12800 speed, or whatever it is, for this to work. I know we can test it. I have a stick here. We know it has 4 gigs built in. We'll try this. This is PC3. It's not even going to detect it. We need low voltage. Yeah, literally any other stick of PC3L. The only thing I have in PC3L would be an 8 gig stick, but that's our testing unit. It's not new. 4 gigs is livable with an SSD. Let's power this thing up. Take a look quick and see. We got new thermal paste. Cleaned the fan out with the air line. The fan's plugged back in. Everything's back where it needs to be. Let's stick back down our sticker for the battery connector. We're going to flatten it out as best we can. Since we disturbed that, we need to run this nuisance of a wire. And there's that. Let's clip this back together. Turn a few screws, and we'll leave the screws off for now. Or, no, actually, we got to turn this one in. It's going to scrape the battery, and that we don't want with this lithium ion with the sticker covering it. Alright, battery present and accounted for. Let's see if we're getting a charge. Any type of charge indicator. Okay, so we're going to let it boot up. We'll set this off to the side and move on to something else for the time being. While that's booting up with its spinny mechanical hard drive, I have to contact this person and see if they want to get an SSD. Not essential that they get a hard drive, but it would be a quality of life for the computer improvement. Slight speed bump. And if I wasn't mistaken, when I looked under the sticker where the Wi-Fi card was, there is a spot for a 2242, like a super short SSD. It's just a little larger, an M.2 SSD, which is a little larger than like an M.2 B-key Wi-Fi card. Okay, so hopefully this can be returned to the seller if it's online, possibly not. But yeah, this doesn't work at all. Are we up or are we not? Where are we at with it? Okay, we're getting Windows. Please wait. Alright, and we have client name up. Let's hit this. It is prompting for the pin, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And let's see if we're getting a charge instead of the red X over the battery symbol and the display dimming out. And then we can at least take a look back at this real quick. Before we call it quits for the day, which is going to be real soon. While this is booting up, I'm just going to set it off to the side. We have another not working issue to take a look at. HP. Did I hit it? I did hit it. Okay, so that's still turning on. We have an HP here. We'll zoom that out a little. There we go. This one, I don't know these numbers, man. Quit calling me. Okay, we got an HP here, not working. Where is this cord at? Where is this nuisance of a cord? So here's problem one. I did notice this. And that is still, what's it called? That's not part of our problem. That's the customer's problem with their AC adapter. They brought them up whenever they came in, but I tested them real quick and sent them back with a new figure 8 cord or a 2-pin. Not the Clover, just the figure 8 or the 2-pin. I like the Clover style better, but those work when you need those to power stuff on. Tested the voltage on their power supplies just to make sure they were good, especially since I saw the bite marks there. But now we got to go on to this computer. They actually brought two, but we're only doing one of them in this stream. We got some juice. No juice. Okay. What do we have? Who are you? HP? You are. Okay, so we have an HP charger here. This is one for the shop. We know it works. It is the small blue tip. Where is it? Is it on the back or the side? On the side, okay. Funny story, well, not really funny, but this is actually, if I'm not mistaken, it's this computer. This is a hybrid that I built, so 15AC132DS is not the internals of this. This has different internals in it. I'm going to say it's this one, unless it's the gray one. I can't remember because they have HPs that look alike. Anyhow, we have our HP. Look at that. Wow, look at that. Is this computer dead? Can we show this? Can I even focus if I get down there? Look at that. Instantly you can see. I just hope it'll stay focused. Look at that. We're missing the central pin for where the adapter plugs in. That's not good. The whole central plastic housing. And for reference, let me show you one that isn't missing. We'll just grab their other computer. Hopefully it's not missing also. No, it's there. So that is more or less what we should be seeing. Instead of gray, it would be black. Okay. But it's there. Now, to compare, you can see those little metal pins, looks like 3 or 4 of them in the black bottom laptop instead of the gray one. The gray is what it should look like. We've got some work to do here, so let's not waste any more time for people that value it and dig right into this one and see what we can do. can only hope. We're not even going to risk trying to plug this in right now. We don't want to Man, why are you so stubborn? It's unlocked. Get out of there then. So our Lenovo is charging 1 hour 34 minutes to full charge. We can check that out here in a bit. Let's get our AC adapter off to the side. As I said, this is HP 15-AC132DS. Let's look up the specs on that just for a moment. I just want to see what the specs are on this computer originally, to see if and we'll compare it to what's in it. Okay, so it's a Pentium N3700 processor. Let's keep that in mind. That's what should be in it. We may be stuck ordering parts on this one, guys and gals. May be stuck ordering parts. Hopefully not, but you win some, and then it takes slightly longer to win others. You know, a little closer. All right, we pulled out the screw for the ROM. Let's get it out of our way. Nothing under our optical drive, and we should have a screw under each foot. Indeed we do. Okay. Two in the back. What's next? Nope, the keyboard is built into the deck on these. We need to start popping it apart. SSD? Yes, it is. Okay. That's the type of RAM we need for the ThinkPad here. But what did I say? 12,800? Yeah, 12,800. So this board, let's look up this board, because we know the board that came with the N3700 Pentium. If we can find the identifier for this board, it's probably on the other side. This doesn't look like the Pentium board. This definitely looks like an upgrade hybrid. Okay, so our DC jack, there, we can get a way better look at it now. We have the housing up. You can definitely see there's just bare metal pins in there. We have to pull up our hinge. So we have a little bit of deconstruction to do. We've got to remove the fan. This thing has some rust in it. This is the hybrid then, because this is the one that it said about it got water inside, and that's what had some ill effect on it before. And that it shouldn't rust any further than the screws. DC jack is right here. Okay, so we still have to lift our hinge. Let's see if we can get this fan out of the way for now. We'll flip it over out of the way here. And what else is there? We have Wi-Fi. Let's pull that. And our display cable, I don't think we have to unplug. No, we can get the hinge out of the way without moving much there. That's broke. Whatever that is, we're going to be gluing something on that one. I definitely do not have a bottom case here for a laptop. It was already glued. Okay. Let's knock that out of there. We're going to hot glue that again. And pull our DC jack out. I think we might have a slight problem though. Let's look in our box, rusty box of bolts and ideas. Do we have one of those? That's from an Apple, Dell, who knows, a bunch of who knows. Whoa, I see something. I see hope. Where'd it go? I see hope. You. No. You. Oh. Oh boy, yeah, okay. Let's count our wires. 1, 2. Red. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have all the same colors. Literally all the same colors. But we have different end sockets. So this is the one that came out of the laptop. This is the spare we have. They are identical in this sense on the end and the pinout, what they're going to do in an HP laptop. And all the wires will do the same thing. However, they have physically different ends. So let's inspect these pins here real quick. These people expressed interest in getting this back as soon as possible. That's why we're doing this after hours, to expedite it. I don't think we have time to order a jack and get one in, so I think this is going to be down to, can we make one? Let's extract the red wire. That is a completely different type of pin. So with one, we're dealing with a much bigger type pin. So, what are the options here? We can order it and wait. Waiting is not desirable. And we're locked in again. Perfect. Alright. So either we're cutting and splicing or ordering and waiting. $90 HP. Okay, and let's see what this one is. See if it's a 90 watt also. 90 watts. So they're both 90 watts. They're the same pin out as far as where the wires end up on this end. They're in a different configuration on the end that hits the motherboard. We are going to order one in. We're going to keep this, retain this sticker. We're going to post it, tape it down, and we can write who it's for. In the interest of get this back as soon as possible, we're going to make one. We're going to spend a few minutes making a DC jack. There's not much room for error either as far as making the cable big and huge. Let's take and pick away at our tape and see how far we need to unravel. This tape is next level sticky. That with the way that it's put on, so. We found a breaking point. Not a breaking point, just a point where we can get the tape off. Hopefully, without killing any wires. Perfect. Okay, now the real work starts. Why are we cutting this so close? We want to make sure that it's going to fit. And we don't want to have to tuck a bunch of extra wire away. So we want to go to as close to the real length as possible with very little room for the wires crisscrossing. So we're going to go right about there. And let the work begin. Will these strip this? We're even talking too tiny for these style strippers. Might be able to tilt it and pull quick and get just the end. Then you risk ripping wires if it's the one that where you're just grabbing and ripping it out. We'll be missing yellow and the one red one. Alright, let's continue. We're going to strip the ends of all the wires on this end of the DC jack. Come on, get off of there. What is the malfunction? What is it with the yellow wires? We'll come back to it. It's just stripping one side of it. How silly is that? There, melt it off. Perfect. Alright. Everything's stripped. Now the silly work begins. We need 7 pieces of heat shrink. Super small. Smallest we have. Get 2 of these out. Right. And cut it up into some short sections that will cover our solder joints. One, two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 9. Alright, this is to try and get, we don't have tape to wrap back around there. So we're going to preload these as we solder them. And we need some bright light to tell our colors of our wires. I do not want to mess up and have a, see, I see a brown, I see black. And yellow. So we have 2 black, 2 red, white, yellow, and brown. So the black, black, white, yellow, brown. Perfect. Alright, we have some soldering to do. We're going to move this unit out of our way for the time being. Let's get to the soldering. We'll pull out our ever-friendly helping hands. Alright, wires 10 on one. Let's attempt to tin the other side and not shrink our heat shrink all the way down. Spread these out so we can get to each of them. Alright, pre-tinned now. It's all about, can we get it to do what we want it to do. Black, yellow. Red to red. I'm getting there slowly. Go down. We don't want to melt you together. Stop shrinking. I know you got hot, but the plan here is not to shrink till we move you into place. Thank you. Let's see if that one. Let's do this next black one. All right, let's go for it. We have red, white, and brown. And this part of the task is done. We're going to feed the rest of our heat shrink up here because we have more length this way. Alright, iron's sleeping. Now we have to move all these into place, shrink them as best they will. It's all going to be bundled up real big in one spot. Hopefully we can get the other piece over it. I hope. If not, we do the best we can with it. This is a temporary until the actual part makes it here, then we can swap it in. And all of these wires will be insulated from each other with the heat shrink here. So no issues there, at least for right now. Try and get these all in place. Oh, that's the one that we shrank a little. That's why it's being difficult. Okay. Of course, it's one of the main power wires. Move up past the red insulation, please. Thank you. You know, I don't even want to start it up for as quick a job as this will be, but why not? That's why not. As long as I can pull the other heat shrink back out of the way. None of the, yeah, some of them did move. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to do here is expand this heat shrink up just a little bit bigger so it'll slip up over the bulk of the other heat shrink that we just installed. And one of the tricks is not digging into the insulation of the other wires when you take and expand it. Whether it be a bigger piece that you do with scissors or a smaller piece that you do with like real fine point needle nose pliers, whatever it may be. You can expand it a little. Just don't dig into the wire that you're trying to cover. And that's going to hold that bundle of wires together. Let's dock our heat gun. Not halfway, just made a bigger mess of wires. Okay, so not factory, not perfect. We have a bit of a bulge there where all those are bundled up together, but still fairly small. So go to sleep, you dumb thing. Thank you. We got a little closer to our old insulation on the other side of the bulge. Not bad. We'll take it. we're going to have very little that's unwrapped in this stack of wires. None of it should be unwrapped up to the end, but again, we're working with what we have, not with what we have to order and have show up at a later point in time. Real quick here, I'm going to try and undo some more tape from this other end. See if we can't use a piece of that. All right. Not brand new cloth tape, recycled, but just that little bit of extra protection for the part that wasn't wrapped, if we can get it to stay. And I say that's good. All right, helping friendly hands out of the way. Hacko out of the way. Strippers, tools, everything else out of the way, and the mission continues. Can we fit this all in here accordingly? Which side does the hole go in? We need a point of reference. Light goes to that side, perfect. Goes that way. Right here. Hot glue. Although a bottom case, or I guess palm rest with keyboard would be the way to replace this. Or we could chop one of these out of another frame potentially, like another palm rest, bottom case, wherever of a laptop, and epoxy it in. I'm going with this method because it's going to have to come apart again to put the one that we're going to order in. Alright, we got the gun on and heating. It'll be a quick moment and this will be ready to rip. Before we go gluing, shall we do a test to check out the light show? Luckily our connector is keyed, so it's only going to plug in one way. That's what that means there. Not going to plug in two ways. Okay, so we have our fan. We need to get this up out of the way. That will happen when the hinge is put in. And very quickly, let's plug in our laptop and see. Instantly, we have power. If I can pull this back out without breaking anything, you can see we're getting our little light. That means we have proper power. Let's see if we can get an amber light, which means charging the battery, at least on HPs. We'll go ahead and plug in our HP battery quick. Possibly we will. The hinge is kind of in our way. And we have our amber light. Disconnect our battery. It goes to white. Reconnect our battery to amber. That means it's charging. That means the splicing that we did 100% is working as intended. So it is okay to reassemble this laptop as soon as our hot glue is ready to go. We're going to lift this hinge and put our DC jack back in place. Okay. A blob of hot glue. Let's check it. Are we that out of glue? We have to add one. Ah, can't believe I found it. I thought I was gonna get pissed. Run around, look for a year. Okay. We got some glue ready to be ramped in there. Let's do it. I'm gonna lift our hinge. Put a blast of glue down. Gun out, gun off, set it on its side where it's not gonna cook anything or drip on a keyboard. Keep what wires we can out of the way and drop our hinge into place. This screw loosened up a little, so we want to really hold that one down. Get out of the way. There. Fan goes on top of it. Alright, it did grab. Let that hot glue finish drying. Now we need to work on our wires. Unfortunately, this bundle is like right in a nuisance spot. That one comes through, we'll drop one in there. For the fan, okay. What are those? What are those? Alright, time for the not so real magic. Just the can we fit it? Can we fit it in where we need to fit it in portion of this till we get the replacement? It's gonna be a pretty big clump of wire right there. Let's take a closer look. I know we have, what is this? That's our display cable. That can get down and tuck out of the way. That can probably sit right there. And hopefully also kind of tuck in. We'll let it sit there. We have one wire to put on here, which is our Wi-Fi antenna. Everything's connected up. Let's see if we can get this bottom case on here. Everything stayed in place fairly well, so let's just check, be sure that we're not going to pinch the wire. That's what I was afraid of. Okay, it goes the opposite way. I thought I saw this spring in here, this for the battery lock, and I was thinking that it slid this way for some reason, but it doesn't. It's going to be close. But I think we can make it. Let's see. It normally loops up over. Can we go between the fan? Let's see. Can we go between and let this drop down under the fan? No. There's not enough room between the hinge and the body of the laptop to let that go through. But what we can do is we will pull our display cable out of our way. We're going to sink our power cable down there. Ah, we have a visitor. There's a neighbor dropping stuff off. We got big stick. Too big stick. Okay. I think that will let that sit down enough to be out of the way. A little more, and then this one doesn't have it. Yeah. We're totally doing that for right now until replacement arrives. It's not the proper order of wires, but it's going to let us put it together. And in one piece. Where do you exactly slot through? Do you go around, or you have to go around? Don't BS me, man. Okay, much better. It's gonna be a little tight right there if these wires keep coming unstacked from each other. That goes in. What is not where it needs to be? What are we hitting? We got to find out. Our case isn't going down completely right here. That's not good. We need it to at least go down where it will sit. Our slider still works. So we got to gain some room. And we unscrews that little bit and then spins. Okay, so even with that screwed down tight, our Wi-Fi wire will still move. And spin this around so we can take a look. Right now we're having trouble fitting everything back together 100%. And because of where the splice point is, alright, let's see what fits and what don't. Did we gain anything by running the wires differently? We did. It's going to go together. Not going to be perfect, but it's a lot closer than it wanted to be. It's actually going to do what it needs to do. Nice. What do we have out? What are those stupid fan screws? Alright. Last trip popping it open, and we can put it back together and call this done. We also have to check in with our battery on our ThinkPad. We're getting a pulsing light on the eye on the ThinkPad, so I'm taking it that it's sleeping. Is that the I call it or a throwback to app? Aha! Look at that. Yeah, we had the whole hinge unscrewed and the whole hinge lifted. Okay, and that, thankfully, we didn't rip any grommets loose that weren't already. That is why it's super important to be careful with hinges that don't have much holding them like these. The only thing that broke loose was our hot glued one. None of the rest were screwed in. I so wish we could just cut. But I'm looking at the future. I just want to cut stuff out of the way there, but you can't, because you have to put this thing back together, at some point, the proper way. So, what we're going to do is that stupid thing right here, right there. Set that down. That will pass through. So we want to make sure the Wi-Fi antenna moves once this is down. Still has wiggle. Perfect. Let's mount it down. It's down, and we can still push the Wi-Fi wires back and forth through, so it's definitely not going to be pinching it. This hinge is going to be working off of 3 screws instead of the total 4 that mount down. There's the 3 that are normally in it with 1 broken loose, and then our bottom, the one that comes through the bottom case in, is also not broken. So we only have 1 broken. It could definitely use a palm rest. We're tucked under. That's just the worst thing right there. We could go further. Can almost go further, but we just quite can't. Let's see. That should let us get in there. That will sink. Sink, sink, sink. That's going to work. That's going to do it 100%. Okay, fans in. Let's put the last fan screw in. Last time doing this, and the day's over. Right, that one's in, that one's in, that. Bottom case, we're good. Alright, optical drives in, last few screws, and battery, and we're done. Alright, battery slots in. Let's lock it in. All the rest are, one more, where'd it go? There he is. Conclusion, let's find out what, if anything, is in this computer. It was F10, the setup, I think. BIOS setup options. Okay, so we said it was a what? The Intel, here, I'll just pull the screen up so you can see. What did it have? Intel Pentium N3700 processor for the 15AC132DS. Yet, what we're looking at is a Core i5 5200U. Different clock speed, isn't it? What was the clock speed? 2.4, 2.2, so slightly lower clock speed. I would call that a better i5 5200U, better than the Pentium N3700. And let's close this up for reference. We will zoom right in and catch our model number right there. We'll get this in where it can focus. Hold it steady. So it's the 15AC132DS. And 3700 is stock. Now, I believe I talked about this in the previous video when I built this hybrid. If I even did this one as a open hours, after hours, or an upload, I'm not sure. A few things you have to change when you build the hybrid of this series and upgrade to a board like that. One, you may or may not be cutting out the VGA port depending on what board you get. Two, you're going to have to get a different battery. Instead of the 3-cell, which physically has three cells inside it, you think you need a 4-cell, if I'm not mistaken, for this build. I know, yeah, it was this one that needed the upgraded battery. Or a battery for the computer motherboard that was going into it, which is a different battery than the one for this actual model number. Those are the two things that I had changed, was the motherboard, the battery type, and it's a bit better performing laptop as far as it doesn't have cut corners. It has 2 RAM slots, it has actual cooling fan, whereas the other one I don't think did. Oh yeah, and you have to get a different cooling unit and a fan unit to do the hybrid thing like this on this model. Anyhow, yeah, definitely different than spec. Actually, what gets us out? F10, save and exit. Sure, I don't think we changed anything. Let's go. We're back in operation on this one. We have one more to go. They want it back by Friday. It can go back pronto, I think. I'm going to let it boot up quick. While I do that, let's move this out of the way and check the status of our battery for our ThinkPad here. Did it get a charge? We've been rambling on, talking a whole lot about nothing for a long time now. Did we get any type of charge into this ThinkPad? Is it battery 1, battery 2? We'll see. We'll put the actual password in, pin, whatever it is, and check in Windows 2. All right. Pulling the ThinkPad from the pile. Okay, so battery 1, here we have an actual readout. Something understandable. I know we're zooming into a display with a camera and it's not going to look the best, but you get the idea, right? Battery 1, 80%. Battery 2, 70%. Those was even reading big fat zeros before. Two problems brought to the table with no power. Two problems solved with power. Not the ideal way to do it in the case of the blue HP. However, we do have what we need to order the new DC jack. A replacement is being ordered right now. If it gets here by Friday, cool, I'll throw it in. I don't think it will. Anyhow, have a good evening, good morning, wherever you are, whatever time it is. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm out of here. I'm done for the day. We will catch you in the next video. If you get into the tinkering, the doing, the messing, breaking stuff, repairing, attempting to repair, breaking it worse, breaking somebody else's mess that already attempted to fix it before you worse. And if you're good at doing it, whatever it is, make sure you take and give anybody that needs a hand. Give them a hand, fix their device up, make it awesome, make it better than it was before. Preserve this tiny, tiny island Earth that we all share together. Have a good one, people. Power, power, we're out. And I gotta figure out how to get out of here now. New methods. Is that it? Yeah, we'll let that one go. We got a wreck. We got Big Stick, too. It's on a timer. How long's the timer?